And number learned lessons 5, 1 prior to verse 5 now at Leviticus chapter 2 in verse 4 up to verse 10. If you bake bread in unopened for this sacrifice, use only finest flour, but without any yeast. You may make the flour into a loaf mixed with olive oil, or you may make it into tin wafers and brush them with oil. If you cook bread in a shallow pan for this sacrifice, use only your finest flour, mix it with olive oil, but do not use any yeast. Then break the bread into small pieces and sprinkle them with oil. If you cook your bread in a pan with a lid on it, you must also use the finest flour mixed with oil. You may prepare sacrifices to give thanks in any of these 3 ways. Bring your sacrifice to a priest, and he will take it to the bronze altar. Then, to show that the whole offering belongs to me, the priest will lay part of it on the altar and send it up in smoke with a smell that pleases me. The rest of this sacrifice is for the priest. It is very holy because it was offered to me. And yes, part of the culture and tradition of Old Testament Israelites is that they used to do the offerings of baked bread. But the Lord is specific in giving them instruction pertaining to the offering of those breads, that it must not contain any yeast. But why? Why? Because that bread, it symbolizes what the Israelites went through. It became a memorial offering in front of God. But why is it that God didn't allow them to put yeast in those bread? So let us recall what happened during the time of Exodus. When the Israelites is running from the Red Sea, so the Red Sea went dry and the Israelites traveled through that Red Sea. So they were carrying their ingredients for their food, the meat, the flour, and everything. But because they are in a hurry, they baked bread without yeast. So yes, it is a remembrance for the Israelites, for them to remember their past, and for that bread to become a memorial offering and a sacrificial offering for God. So it reminds them to be humble enough for them to recall their past, their history, and for what the entire nation went through. See? That's why the Lord gave them instruction for those bread to be without yeast, for them to be remembered of what the nation went through. See? That's how the nation recall what is in their past. And for them to remember the greatness of their God during those times. You see, through that bread offering, the Israelites will remember what their ancestors went through. So that with that, they can still serve and worship Him out of His greatness, right? So they remember the deliverance of the Lord. So that's how their God is. And that's how great our God is. See, our God is the God of the Israelites. The living God is the same God we worship even today. Okay?